Hi, you guys. Today we're talking about energy flow through an ecosystem. So, what we mean by this is how an organism is going to pass on its energy to another organism. How do they do this? By being eaten by that organism. So, take a look at the vocabulary here that's on the board. Some of this is going to be very familiar to you already. You know food chains, you know food webs, you've heard these terms, but you might not really understand how energy is flown between the organisms in these diagrams. The other words that you are probably familiar with: predator, prey. You know, predator is the one that eats the animals. You know that the prey is the one that's being eaten. You know, omnivore. Omnivore is an organism or an animal that eats both meat and plants. Herbivores only eat plants, carnivores only eat meat. The other one that you might not be as familiar with is decomposers. So these are organisms like bacteria and fungi, and they break down the remains of dead plants and animals, okay? They decompose that organism. The two that I really want to bring to your attention, though, today is these two here, the producer and the consumer. Remember that a producer is one that is going to use the sun's energy to make molecules and store energy as food. Sound familiar? Photosynthesis, maybe? A plant, grass, tree, algae, these are things that are producing energy that they get from the sun. Consumer is the organism that has to eat something else in order to get its nutrients. It has to consume the nutrients from something else. The producer is going to produce it, and then the next level up has to consume that producer. From then on, other consumers can consume the first level of consumers. We'll talk about that. I know that got a little bit complicated, but we'll talk about that now. So if we take a look at a food chain, here we have the food chain that the first level here, these are all producers because they are using their energy that they get from the sun to create energy that other organisms can consume. So the energy from the grass is going to go to the grasshopper. This first level here, grasshopper, greenfly, the herring, they are all going to be consumers, first level consumers, because they are going to be the ones that eat the producer. From then on, all of these other consumers, the second level, third level, fourth level, they don't necessarily have to eat the producer. They can eat the consumers that come before them. I hope that helped kind of clarify. So if we look at the first organism in the food chain, what is this? Producers. Where do they get their energy? From the sun. What do they have in common? They're all plant life. Okay, so from then on, the consumers can eat and their energy flows this direction. So the energy from the grass is going to go to the grasshopper. The energy from the grasshopper is going to go to the frog. The energy from the frog will go into the snake. The energy from the snake will go into the eagle. The arrows here point to where the energy goes. It does not point to who eats what. The grass does not eat the grasshopper, okay? But the grass's energy goes to the grasshopper. That's very important. Remember, as we go through food chains and food webs, that the arrows point to where the energy flows, not who eats what. This ladybug does not eat a robin, but the ladybug's energy goes to the robin, okay? So now it gets a little bit more interconnected with food chains that happen within a particular ecosystem. They all interconnect and make a food web. So for example, you would have to find the producer in this situation. There might be multiple producers. So here I would see the phytoplankton. Nothing is going toward the phytoplankton. So the phytoplankton isn't getting its energy from something else here. So meaning it's probably getting its energy from the sun. It's the producer, and its energy goes into the mussels. Its energy will go into the zooplankton that feed off of it. Its energy will go into the fish that feed off of it. Similar algae. There's no arrows pointing to algae, so Nothing is pouring its energy into the algae except for the sun. Okay, so algae would be the producer, and its energy will flow into the limpets, and from there, the starfish or the octopus. Okay, and then who's at the end? Who's at the end result? Yeah, us. We're on the top of the food chain here, the food web. Okay, this is when everything is interconnected. Here's another example here on this page. Okay, so if you look here, what is the producer? What does not have an arrow pointing to it? Well, the tree, okay, or the grass. They're not getting its energy, their energy from another organism. They're getting it directly from the sun. They're producing that energy from the sun. And then its energy goes outward in an interconnected web. I hope this helps explain food chains and food webs, and reach out if you have any questions.